We have new, potentially damning details tonight about the White House's botched taxpayer-funded loan to Solyndra. Now, George Kaiser was one of Solyndra's biggest investors, and according to the Daily Caller, his charitable foundation made a $10,000 donation to the Urban Health Initiative in 2009. And wouldn't you know it, well, that was the same year that a controversial $500 million loan to Solyndra was secured. Now, for those of you who may not remember, First Lady Michelle Obama helped create the Urban Health Initiative program before she moved into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So are the two connected, or just another so-called coincidence? Joining me with reaction, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Victoria Tunsing, Fox News contributor Tamara Holder. All right, so any coincidence, Tamara? Let's go through all of this together. We have this coincidence. We have the coincidence that Solyndra execs, let's see, they bundled a lot of money for Barack Obama's campaign. That money seemed to buy them access. They had 4 meetings at the White House the week prior to getting $535 million taxpayer stimulus dollars. Then they get the money. They were warned that they needed to do due diligence. They didn't do it. Does this in any way raise any red flags in your liberal mind?
Well, my liberal mind actually went through that timeline, Sean, and it all started under the Bush administration.
And Bush said, we know that. Bush said no, they rejected it.
No, they didn't reject it. They said they wanted more. No, they said they wanted more due diligence, and it was done. There was an additional marketing report, a law firm report. All of these things were done, and it was put through and approved. Sean, the bigger issue here is not the $10,000 that some bundler gave to Michelle Obama's clinic here in Chicago. It's that we tried to compete in a market that we shouldn't be competing in. Solar energy. We're trying to compete with China. It's absolutely ludicrous that we would give $500 million to a company that can't compete with China.
We should allow the free market to do its thing. Now, Victoria, the Bush administration did, in fact, reject it in the final days of the administration. Now, the White House itself, their budget analysts warned in an email, quote, this deal's not ready for prime time. The Office of Management and Budget said there isn't time to negotiate. We would prefer time to do our due diligence, but it was still expedited, and one has to look at the connection to the White House and whether or not this was political payback. Your thoughts?
Well, there's a lot of connection to the White House, Sean, but I think we ought to survey the legal landscape because it's pretty overwhelming. Number one, the FBI searched the company. Now, that means that a federal judge had to find there was probable cause to believe a crime had been committed, and the evidence of that crime was at the company. We don't know what crime, but we know a federal judge thought there was one. We also know that a civil law was violated by this administration, and that's a 2005 Energy Act that says if there is an energy loan, guess who's supposed to be paid off first? The taxpayer. And somebody in the Obama administration restructured that loan this year and saw to it that the wealthy investors were taken care of first and not the taxpayer. And let me just say one more point, and that is Brian Harrison, who is the CEO of Solyndra, told members of Congress in the last few weeks that the company was on a sound financial footing. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I do agree with Tamara. We, the government, our government, should not be involved in doing this kind of work.
Are you saying, based on all these things, are you saying there might be criminal liability here by the administration or members of the administration?
Yes, Sean, that is exactly what I'm saying. This is a scandal of immense proportion.
Look,
can I finish?
We are wasting our time.
Tamara, let her finish.
$500 million of taxpayers' money lost, and the taxpayers were put behind, contrary to the law. This ought to be called Greengate, not for the connection to the environment, but for all the taxpayer money that was lost.
Tamara, let me just ask you. So if you bundle money for the president, the average American that's watching this program does not get to go to the White House 4 times in a week prior to this loan being approved, especially with OMB, especially with White House budget analysts saying, don't do the deal. That was Obama's own administration warning him not to do it. They get the access, they get the deal, they get special considerations on the loan, the taxpayer's on the hook. They wasted $535 million, which, by the way, they said would go bankrupt in September of 2011. It went bankrupt in September of 2011. And you just sit here and you say, well, we shouldn't have been in that business. You don't see any problems or ethics or impropriety, or at least the appearance of impropriety? Nothing?
No, I don't, because you're saying that just because political people are in bed with projects, with the administration, that there's some kind of crime that's occurred here. You know what? The FBI is wasting their time by taking all of these documents.
Government? How about cronyism? How about
not crony
quid pro quo?
government.
How about scratch my back, I scratch your back, you buy access by giving me donations?
Sean,
hey, I've got another
this happens
one, Sean.
in every single. It happens in every single administration, and you know that. The point is that we invested.
Give me an example.
We invested. No, there are other corporations that have received money, and I'm not here to give you examples. No. I want to tell you something, though, Sean, that we are here to invest in, as a government, we are to invest in innovation and technology.
And your president,
that's what the government is supposed to do.
Not their job.
This one flopped.
Read the Constitution.
Why did it flop? Because we were in the wrong market space.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, the government is not a venture capitalist, and let me just tell you why. Because they don't know squat about investing. Henry Waxman, Democratic congressman, goes.
The Chinese government invested $30 billion in 1 year in solar energy, and China is kicking our butt.
Can I please finish?
Victoria.
Henry Waxman, Democratic congressman, said he was assured that everything was peachy by the CEO. Let me tell you, the letter that the CEO sent just talked about sales. It didn't say anything about profit and loss. People in the government do not know how to assess like private finance people do. Let me tell you something else. The president came out in May of 2010 and gave a speech praising Solyndra. And why do you think that happened? Because it happened after an audit report that said it was going to go belly up. Why did the president do that? Because they were going to start an IPO in June, and he was helping them. But the investors in our country knew not to support that, and they would not support it, and they had to take the IPO down.
We got to run. Thank you both for being with us. I meant our framers and our founders. They all warned about limited government. This isn't the role of government.